This is Outnumbered, and I'm Melissa Francis. Here today, Harris Faulkner, attorney and Fox News contributor Emily Campagno, syndicated radio host and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall, and joining us on the couch, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General under President George W. Bush, Tom Dupree, and he is outnumbered. So then on the other point, you have Representative McCall questioning the idea, and Leslie, I'll ask you about this, about how the Democrats got together with the whistleblower to bring him forward. One side is saying Republicans are trying to out him. The other side is saying, well, wait a second, is he really a whistleblower? Do we have a soundbite on that, or?
I think they were complicit in working with the whistleblower to come forward with his complaint and start this entire impeachment inquiry. I think that's why Adam Schiff is so protective of the whistleblowers, because he is concerned about the truth that will come out if we get access to him.
Leslie, what do you think?
No, I don't feel that way at all. I disagree. I think the protection of the whistleblower is simply because they feel that the individual, perhaps their family members, will be threatened because of the divisiveness and because of the vitriolic nature of our society right now, especially along political lines. But in addition to that, Democrats have even said we don't even need the whistleblower at this point necessarily. I mean, when you have the testimony like we're having now, and more people are coming forward that are pretty much echoing the sentiments of the original concern of this whistleblower, you may not need the whistleblower, and who that person is may not be relevant.
In the meanwhile, national security official Alexander Vindman, who testified yesterday, reportedly telling lawmakers that the White House transcript of the July call between President Trump and Ukraine's president omitted crucial words and phrases, and that his attempts to have them added to the document failed. Emily, I read this New York Times article closely because that's a big charge. And I hate to say it, but it's the New York Times, and they've reported stuff like this before that felt like a bombshell, and then it's turned out not to be true. So I don't know, in reading, where you need someone to corroborate this. I didn't see that. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right. I love this right now because I feel like what you are illustrating a pattern that keeps repeating itself, which is word of a bombshell, and then we wait with bated breath while the details don't necessarily support it, or we feel, what's the next 10 degrees beyond? Because the information that we have at this point doesn't have that specificity that we need. Okay, so you failed to correct it. Well, then, remember, we are hearing reports that he struggled to identify exactly where, and then what forward? What exactly was omitted, or what was mischaracterized? We need that specificity for the average American to understand what's going on, and at this point, we're simply being led along without knowing the truth.
My understanding from the article is the allegation is there are two specifics. It's whether or not the Ukrainian president specifically talked about Burisma as a corporation, and the president talking allegedly about former Vice President Joe Biden when he was vice president having a recorded call regarding.
But I think she means.
Meanwhile, House Democrats have laid out the rules of their impeachment inquiry ahead of a planned public vote on the floor, which we're expecting to happen tomorrow. The resolution would allow lawmakers and staff more time to ask questions of witnesses. Republicans would finally be able to subpoena witnesses in this whole thing. The president's lawyers will be allowed to cross-examine witnesses, but with one big caveat. Democrats will have the, quote, discretion to deny this right if they believe the White House is stonewalling or providing witnesses or documents on that, rather. And the House Intel Committee will lead the first phase of public testimony. That last point, I think, is pretty critical, because the language of the resolution does not provide details about the president's legal rights, while the House Intel Committee is in charge. Okay, that seems like a gaping hole. Wow. Okay, Democrat vision on all of this. You guys could misstep by overreaching. And that's something that we have seen in your political party time and time again. Oh, my goodness, Russia collusion. Oh, my goodness, wait, got to wait for the Bob Mueller report to come out. And then it comes out, and then it's like, well, okay, skip those first few pages and get past that and go towards something else. I mean, what is your greatest political fear?
Oh, my greatest political fear is that we'll have a redo of what happened, with Clinton, that you have an impeachment in the House, you have an acquittal in the Senate, the president's approval ratings, which then went up to 74% for Bill Clinton. He becomes more popular. That party loses, as Republicans did, seats in both the House and the Senate. And in addition to that, it was Newt Gingrich that had to step down House Speaker, and in this case, it would be Nancy Pelosi. That would be my greatest fear. But to your point, there is no instruction manual. But historically, whoever has power in the House does set the rules for the impeachment. And in addition to that, they do have the power to say yay or nay to the witnesses that are going to be called by the party that is the minority in the House during that impeachment.
The NCAA's top decision makers now allowing college athletes to make money off their likeness, names, and images. Board members saying in a statement that all changes should make sure student athletes have the same opportunities to make money as all other students. Meanwhile, in response to the rule changes, Senator Richard Burr says he wants to tax scholarships if college athletes cash in, tweeting, quote, "If college athletes are going to make money off their likeness while in school, their scholarships should be treated like income. I'll be introducing legislation that subjects scholarships given to athletes who choose to cash in to income taxes." But what about the imbalance now between California and everywhere else? Aren't all the good athletes going to go to California where they can cash in?
Well, that's it. But in addition, you have to remember, I think what they've done here is right. If they had a Leslie Marshall action figure, which there never will be, I want a piece of that. I want a piece of that. You know what I mean? But really, they are attracting people to these schools. The coaches make a ton of money. The administrators of these organizations in California make a ton of money. And the athletes shouldn't be struggling. Some of them will go on to the pros, but most of them will not. But if you are bringing people to buy tickets to these events or say, hey, I want to go to that school in California because of this athlete, and attracting not just athletes but others and contributing to that wealth in that organization of the coaches and the administrators, I do think it's fair they get a cut. But you also, if you have that action figure and I got a piece, I would have to pay taxes because it's income.
I'm increasingly worried that President Trump may want to shut down the government again because of impeachment, an impeachment inquiry. He always likes to create diversions. I hope and pray he won't want to cause another government shutdown because it might be a diversion away from impeachment.
The top Democrat in the Senate right there, Chuck Schumer, I mentioned it earlier, saying he's worried that President Trump will use a government shutdown as a diversion from impeachment. The government is funded through November 21st, and that could fall right into the middle of the House holding impeachment hearings. Where is that coming from, Leslie Marshall?
I don't know. And the first thing I thought when I heard that was, why are you giving him ideas? Don't give him any ideas. Because
that's what Chuck Schumer does?
No, but I think sometimes Democrats do that and even Republicans do that. The other party goes, good idea. Melissa, you said before the break, is this, wild speculation, so to speak? And I'm not so sure. Simply because it would seem that when you call this, constantly a witch hunt, there's not going to be any there. The Democrats are after me, and you're playing the victim. Well, what do? You then try to make it impossible for the proceedings to happen. And if that is the case after November 22nd, and the government shuts down, how do they continue?
That would be such fantasy, though, for Democrats.